Hi guys, it's your girl Caitlin and welcome back to the channel. I know, 2 videos in one day. I mean, I've got to be awake for another 6.5 hours before I get to go to sleep before launch, so maybe we even get to 3, who knows. But, well, welcome back, and if there's anybody new who doesn't know me or know anything about me, I'm Caitlin, and apart from just playing WoW far too much, I also do a considerable amount of WoW speedrunning. I've successfully won races both in the private server and on Blizzard official realms in Vanilla, TBC, and Wrath of the Lich King. So, with that said, I feel that it gives me a degree of knowledge when it comes to how to have the best possible starting zone on a fresh launch. But before we get into that, please don't forget to subscribe. Click down on the link below. Give us a like if you actually enjoy my content, or if you have any questions about any of the things I talk about, or if you have any just random questions, feel free to ask. I do always try to respond to every comment that I can. And if you want to see me live on launch, then I will be streaming for a ridiculously long time, starting obviously on server launch at 10 PM GMT, and the link to my Twitch is down below. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing 5 of my, I would consider, lesser known ways of making the start zone work well for you. Having a good start zone is going to set you up to get ahead of the Zug, ahead of the leveling curve. It means that you can get to do quests when there's not going to be literally hundreds of people trying to do them simultaneously with you. And all of that comes from essentially trying to cut your leveling to as lean as possible. We want to do the absolute bare minimum that will get you out the start zone, but get you out the start zone in a position whereby you can actually progress. You're not going to get cucked. You're not stuck there with 5 other people desperately trying to solo mobs that are bright red or dark orange. So the first tip starts right here on the character creation screen. This is obviously just a random priest, but we're going to start with 2 tips that involve your character creation. And the first is dear to my heart because it's to do with your in-game name. So for anybody that's not familiar, the reason I use the name Caitlin is because years ago I used a different name, but I was known under that name. And obviously some people will choose to steal people's names just because, well, arseholes exist on the internet. I can confirm that because I'm one of them. So the name I was going to use got taken. I got given the classic, that name is unavailable. And I was then sat there twiddling my thumbs thinking, what am I going to call myself? And as it so happened, I'd previously just been having a conversation with a friend of mine about a girl I really fancied at the time called Caitlin. So the name was sort of just sitting there in the back of my head anyway, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to call myself Caitlin. So if you want to avoid spending the next decade of your life with fully grown men shouting the word Caitlin whenever they want to get your attention online, I would suggest you have a list. Obviously have the name that you really want. So for me, Caitlin, but then have, 3 or 4 additional names, maybe names that aren't quite as popular. If you're going to be called Caitlin, but you can't get that name, don't have the list being Asmongold, Jeff, and Legolas. Have names that are probably slightly less common that will definitely be available, because the last thing you want to be doing as it comes down to the actual launch, seconds do actually have quite a significant influence. So you just want to have the name ready. If that's not available, go down to the next name. If that's not available, go down to the next name, etc., etc., etc. So I'd say the final name just be something incredibly unique to you. Obviously, let it be a name that you actually do want to use, because you're going to be using this character for, well, the foreseeable future. But don't have it being, again, Godslayer GX Bilbo Swaggins. Or maybe use that one. I don't think anybody's crazy enough to have that. So the second tip is, again, character creation, and it is literally a case of just practicing. What do you want your character to look like? You don't want to be sat here going, right, do I want that skin, okay, I'm going to go for that, and then which face do I like, etc. Have it in your mind exactly what you want your character to look like before you begin. What face are you going to use? What hairstyle are you going to use? What hair color are you going to use? You can obviously practice as much as you want, and specifically have, what I have is sort of little triggers in my head of being like, okay, so I need to slow down on the scroll bar. You know, I know I'm sort of getting down to it, and there's the hair that I want, etc. Again, when it comes to the actual start zone, these seconds will count up. If you can be the very first person to get to a mob ahead of everybody else and get the tag on it if it's a quest mob, then you're absolutely rolling. So we've got our little priest. I think the hair's actually the wrong colour. Oh no, do we... I don't care about the earrings, but everything else, yep. Okay. And then we're just going to log in and get straight down to the next fantastic tip I have. Well, it's not really a tip, it's actually an add-on. So this is level 1 quick setup. As you can see, everything is, well, exactly where it needs to be. All of these are all of my macros for all of the spells I could ever want. Yes, they have funny names because I'm just hilarious like that. But I know where they all are, and this means that whenever I learn a new skill, I haven't got to go, okay, where is it? Drag it onto my bar, set it to a bind. Do I need it to be macroed as a mouse over? Do I need to have it macroed in with the used trinket or my racial or any of these kinds of things? Everything is just completely set, ready to go. The only actual difference is here that I have smite where I would have racial, but that's because I haven't been practicing dwarf. I've been practicing troll. It works on troll, don't worry. So I would encourage you to get the add-on. The link is down below. And so number 4, we have the ubiquitous target macro. What do I mean by this? Well, again, this is set up for my start as a troll. What you see is that I have a list here. So first off, it doesn't have to be /target, /tar or /tar is enough for the macro to work. Next, I then have a list of essentially what is 3 mobs. So this first one is the named Scorpion in the start zone. This is a named Orc in the start zone, and this is a named mob in Duotar itself. So it's technically outside the start zone. But all 3 of these mobs are mobs that will be contested. They're quest mobs, and rather than me getting to the mob having either no target macro set up or having just a generic target macro and going, what's the mob called? I just have this list. Obviously, none of these mobs are next to each other, so it will scan for Yoggoth first, he's not there. It will scan for Lieutenant, he's not there. Scan for Sargoth. Sargoth might be there, so it targets Sargoth and then cast smite on them. Unfortunately, this is arguably the best way to tag as a priest, which is using rank 1 smite. Of note as well, not so much just for the start zone, but priest specific and other casters as well. Your rank 1 will be faster cast than your rank 2. So when you're tagging mobs, generally you would just want to have smite and then just to specify that you're using the fastest cast version of the spell rather than the higher level, which does more damage but takes longer to cast. That's not what you want. So I would suggest that whenever you get to your start zone, have an idea of what quests, what named mobs, you will be attempting to kill. Create a macro like this before launch. This will transfer over to launch, no problem. And you will be ready to go. The troll in here is Grisnik, something of that nature. So if I was doing a Dwarf Priest, which I normally do, this would obviously be edited in order for all of those specific mobs. The final tip I would say is understanding the exact specific amount of experience that you will need to get level 4. Level 4 is essentially the earliest you can really be leaving your start zone, at least solo. I guess you could hypothetically leave earlier if you're duo or in a group, but honestly, I wouldn't advise it. You're going to be dealing with too many glancing blows, resists, you won't be able to get the quests from your second zone, etc, etc, etc. So what you want to be doing is, again, example would be the Troll Cave. After I have got the final quest done in the Troll Cave called the Lost Journal, I know that that quest, when I hand it in, gives me 550 experience. That means I will therefore grind on the mobs in the cave until I need 550 experience to doing level 4 when I leave the cave and hand in. I will just keep grinding rather than exiting the cave, handing in, missing the experience, then sort of running around aimlessly looking for tags. So again, for your, equivalent quests, wherever your start zone is. Sit there, grind the specific amount, work out how much experience you're going to get from the quest hand-ins, grind the specific amount of experience that you need in order to get the level 4 ding. Ding level 4, maybe train level 4 if you have enough gold for it and if you need the abilities. Either way, as soon as that's ready, or as soon as you get to a level when you want to leave the start zone, just bugger off out of there ASAP, get onto the next zone and start getting experience ahead of the curve while everybody else is buggering around zugging, trying to kill ragged timber wolves, because that's what the guide says. So guys, a short one today, second though. So guys, just a quick short one. I hope these little tips have helped. So a short one today, keeping it brief. I hope these tips will hopefully help at least one person on the Fresh. You still have a whole 18 hours or thereabouts until Fresh. So get onto the PTR or get onto the Classic Realms, give it a little bit of a practice, test these things out, set up your UI using the add-ons, practice making your character, get a nice list of names that you want to use if your main name is stolen. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best on launch. Have a fantastic time, and that's enough for me today. Peace.